Hello and welcome to another wonderful day of Soul Expression Sessions podcast. I'm your host, Alyson McLeod, with the most amazing Dr. Candace Holmes with me today. And Dr. Holmes is a transformative wellness author, speaker, certified neurofeedback therapy practitioner, and chiropractor with almost 3 decades of experience in chiropractic care and close to a decade specializing in neurofeedback therapy. Her journey into neurofeedback therapy began with her eldest daughter's remarkable transformation from struggling with ADHD to excelling at college, consistently earning positions on the president's list and the dean's list. Inspired by this success, Dr. Holmes integrated the neurofeedback therapy into her chiropractic practice. Her mission extends beyond clinical practice to raise global awareness about the transformative potential of neurofeedback therapy for mental health challenges. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you having me.
Well, this was great. I mean, I loved, the fact that you're already a chiropractor, you're in, working on health for us. What is neurofeedback therapy?
Neurofeedback therapy is a modality. So it is an active way to retrain how your brain functions. A lot of therapies out there are pretty passive. However, this one gets your brain to actually work. And that's why we call it exercise for the brain. So it is drug-free and non-invasive. The results can last up to 30 years and in some cases even longer. And this therapy has been around for over 50 years, but most people don't know about it. So that's why I'm on a mission just to bring more awareness for it. It helped my daughter and it's helped so many more patients after her. I'm just delighted and thankful.
Well, that is awesome. And how does it actually work to help individuals optimize their brain health and performance?
Sure. So there are frequencies that our brains function well in. When our brain frequencies are not in those ranges, that's when we start having symptoms from, say, autism or ADHD, anxiety or depression. So what neurofeedback works to do is to get the brain back into the correct frequency so that it's functioning well. And so it's done from in my programs, just watching something on your laptop, say a television show or a movie. And it's very easy. If it weren't easy, my daughter would not have done it, let me tell you. So I started working with her when she was 13, and she went from struggling in school to getting A's in honors chemistry and physics, from lacking focus and attention to being the most focused in class, according to her teachers, from having very few social skills and being socially awkward to having tons of friends. I can't even keep up with them anymore now. And so the fact that it's easy and it's so effective is just remarkable to me. Some people don't even realize what's going on, but it's like their brains are being trained without any hard effort.
But I know it's not just energy work, but does anybody ever say that? Oh, it sounds like energy work.
Well, no, this is a computer-based program, so it actually focuses on different parts of the brain. There's a brain mapping that's done that shows which areas of the brain are the most dysfunctional at this time, which dysregulated, the ones that need the most help. And so the reason why I love it so much is because I can go to those particular areas, set the patient up, and so we train those areas. And then after the brain reaches a certain pattern that I see on my end, then I call them back in and we get another brain mapping done. And so the computer will compare where the brain was to where it is now. So you can actually see the growth and it's an objective finding. I'm still a scientist. I love data. And so that's what I love about it. And you see the before and then you see the after and then the continuing on.
And what are all the brain related issues that you work with?
Oh, yes. So autism, ADHD, PTSD, traumatic brain injuries and concussions, depression, anxiety. I've had a patient whose mom had frontotemporal dementia, so she wanted to be proactive to avoid getting that later on. And so I also have people who use it for that purpose. A lot of my patients have dementia or Alzheimer's in their family, and they're trying to make sure their brains are as efficient and powerful going into their latter years. I always say a seasoning gracefully. You want to make sure that you can do that and just enjoy life to its fullest. I use it for stress relief. I also use it for, again, optimal brain performance. So there are quite a few areas that people come to me to help in a drug-free way.
Well, that would be awesome. So kind of like chiropractic, it's forward thinking to make sure.
Yes, yeah, exactly. That's why it was so easy to implement into my practice because integrate is just it's natural. Most people think, chiropractors, they just crack bones. I said, no, we're actually nervous system specialists. So the spinal column just happens to surround, the spinal cord. And so the main components of the nervous system are the brain and the spinal cord. And so why not just start with the brain and, get everything flowing out, working well and flowing from there out to the rest of the body.
And I love that I didn't realize that it was kind of a proactive thing for neurofeedback too, because number one, I'm adopted. Number two, I had a complete hysterectomy before 45. So my biggest thing too is, okay, by the time I'm 70, I don't want quick onset dementia. So I would be kind of one of those perfect clients, I guess, to say, let's do some things ahead of time.
Absolutely, absolutely. Kind of reminds me, I have a patient I think she's 76 now, and she would only come to me when she had to break out with the cane because, she was having difficulty walking. And I said, I love you. I'd much rather see you when you're doing well than waiting until the moment where you have to, get the cane out of the closet. Let's be proactive instead of reactive. She said, you know what, Doc, I never thought of that. Yeah, let's do that. And so then she started coming in, like regularly, like once a month. And so let's, keep you great. Yes, absolutely. It is definitely the use it or lose it kind of mentality. My dad played football in college, and he had so many concussions he can't even tell me how many in number, because back then there was no baseline for concussions, and there was only smelling salts and how many fingers am I holding up. And he would tell me that he had CRS, and I'm like, central respiratory. So I'm trying to figure out I'm not remembering learning that, what CRS is, and it's really bothering me. He said, I can't remember. I said, oh, oh, okay, okay. And so, he's 86 and he's been doing neurofeedback therapy for, as long as I've had it. And he doesn't say that anymore. His memory's great. He's thriving, he's driving. This is such a joy not to have to be in that category where people are like, oh, you have to take care of she's not remembering, or she's, getting lost, or he's, having issues. I'm like, my dad's great. And I'm thankful, like he's my baseline. He is who I strive to be, active and still functioning well and independently. And that's what I want for all my patients, to be as self-sufficient and independent as possible.
Well, and that's it. And usually we're just, taught to just, well, wait, who knows if it's going to happen? Don't worry about it. You're doing fine. I've had 4 concussions. I've had, like, I was told not to dye my hair anymore after 2020 because of my last concussion.
Oh, goodness.
Learning all these things I am from you, it's like, okay, this is something I definitely need to look into too, because there's things we go through in our life, but we don't know what we don't know until someone says, oh, you should have done XYZ.
Right, right. And the wonderful thing about the brain is it's not ever too late. You can always learn how to do something new. I went to a holiday party for my alumni association, and unbeknownst to me, I was brought forward, and the president said, "Oh, Dr. Holmes, tell us about what you do," and because I have they have business memberships, and I was talking, and afterwards, a woman came up to me and said, "Oh my gosh," she said, "I was sent here for a reason. My sister-in-law had a really bad accident, and she suffered a horrible concussion, and the doctors are telling me there's nothing else they can do." And I'm like, "There has to be something else. There has to be." She's 34. She said, "This life isn't over yet." Yes, and so yes, so absolutely, there's something that can be done. And so again, um, it's not very well known, and I'm working to change that.
Excellent. Good to hear. I'll be later. And what sets your approach to neurofeedback therapy apart, and how do you tailor treatment plans to meet the unique needs of each individual?
Well, some offices only are local. I have a national practice. That's one thing that sets me apart. So you don't have to be. I'm in Georgia, right outside of Atlanta. You don't have to be in Georgia in order to work with me. I have patients in California, in Texas, Maryland, and Kentucky. It's all over. Secondly, I look at the whole body. I don't just look at your brain. I just look at your body. I integrate the two. It's my integrated brain body method. Most of the times, you go someplace and they're only focused on one thing. Well, we are made of many parts that make up the whole. So let's make sure everything is functioning well. I have patients who have chiropractors already as their healthcare providers, and great, keep going, keep getting adjusted, keep making sure that the nervous system is functioning well. If not, then I say, hey, let's consider adding that to your care, because it does take a team. And again, I'm not a counselor, not a therapist. I stay in my lane. I refer out to other practitioners. I tell my patients, if you're in a crisis, don't call me. I'll just say, don't do that. That's all I have. That's all I have. I've not been trained in that way. However, I co-manage with psychologists and psychiatrists and counselors and therapists, coaches, executive functioning coaches, and things like that, just to make sure that my patients have the most well-rounded team available for their care.
Well, that's awesome. It's great to know. So you can do things online, you can do things over Zoom for people.
Absolutely, absolutely.
I love it.
And also my program's a little bit more intensive because the therapy is done at home. So you can get more training sessions in, which means that you get better faster, as opposed to having to come into my office 2 to 3 times a week. Before we had home units available, that was a challenge because we're busy. We're busy with life, especially my students. They have school and then they may have after school activities, games or concerts or practice or whatever. And at least now with the programs that I designed, they can get the therapy sessions done, when it fits into their schedules. And so I love that, and they love that too, because teenagers especially like, oh, nope, just open your laptop. You're already on anyway. Go ahead and do a session.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. So it's accessible everywhere. Because, yeah, I had to go down after my concussion to see a chiropractor who was specializing in concussions. And there was literally just standing up against the wall doing the, like,
Yes, yes,
the different things that I did.
yes,
But
yes.
that was it. So it's like, oh, okay, well,
Yeah, we're also busy. It's just finding what works best for you. Just when patients were only coming to my office, I would have parents tell me, "Oh my gosh, if you ask me one more time if we're going to therapy today," because they love coming in because they got to look at a movie or a television show for 30 minutes uninterrupted, and their parents like, "You need to get off that television." No, they're like, "Oh my gosh, and they're excited. I'm thankful that it's like you said, that accessible and that easy and time saving too.
that's perfect. And what are some common misconceptions about neurofeedback therapy, and how do you educate your clients about the benefits and limitations of this approach?
Sure. Neurofeedback therapy is effective in 75 to 80% of the population. There are some cases that are maybe too severe or too extreme, or we can only mitigate the symptoms. For instance, let's say it's late onset dementia. If the brain tissue has already died, there's nothing that we can do about that, unfortunately. I wish. However, there are limitations of matter, so that's to be kept in mind. And then also with neurofeedback, people have asked me, well, is it going to change my personality? I don't want to change who I am. Doesn't change your personality. Your personality is your personality. It just makes sure that your brain is functioning well. That way, you won't have these moments of forgetfulness or brain fog or just aggression or emotional dysregulation. It helps with all of those things. Another thing that is a misconception is that we are going to inject them with a dye or something like that, or that it hurts. It doesn't hurt. I would not inject my daughter with anything. I'm not going to do that with your child or you. And also, when I do something that hurts, because that's not, we take oaths not to do harm. So everything is drug free and non-invasive, and it's actually pretty fun. Like my daughter would get upset when her movie wasn't over in 30 minutes. She wanted to continue, and I said, "No, sweetie, got to stop. The brain needs at least 4 hours to rest, change, and adapt to what it's learning. So we have to give it that time in between sessions."
And that's awesome. I mean, I just finished my degree in 2021. So, yes, I know being at school was
Yes,
yeah,
very
having a
challenging.
concussion
Yes,
and ADHD. Well, that was awesome. Kudos to her for sure. And your book does include those personal stories, especially about your daughter.
it.
How did it impact her?
Oh my gosh. I mean, it totally transformed her life. And that's just my motivation, just to help other people and parents especially, because not only was she suffering for 13 years, because I didn't understand, like when she was diagnosed with ADHD, I was in denial. I'm like, not my daughter. I don't know what you're talking about. Nobody in my family has that. So it's a catch-all. And my sorority sister is a child psychologist, and she's the one who diagnosed her. And so we started with therapy with her, even though I was in denial. And she had about 12 sessions or so. And at the end of it, my sorority sister said, "You sure you don't want to put on medication?" I'm like, "I'm absolutely sure. There's a reason why I chose you as a psychologist, not a psychiatrist." So had it not been for neurofeedback therapy, she wouldn't be in college. She was struggling so much, I didn't think that was an opportunity for her. And I understand it's not for everyone. However, her dad and I are both, college graduates. My parents are college graduates. So it wasn't a question of if you're going, it's where. And so when I saw they had to hold her back in kindergarten, I was like, I'm not sure. And it's because she couldn't, remember her sight words. And so I was disciplining her as well because I'm a Catholic. I call myself a cafeteria Catholic, so I pick and choose. However, I went to Catholic school. There was discipline. You did what you were supposed to do. What do you mean? You're not finishing your homework, and why is it taking you so long? And are you not concentrating? Are you not focused? What all the things. And then as I learned I had to end up apologizing to her because I was disciplining her for something that she couldn't even help. And I ended up talking to my ex-husband's cousin because I came to realize, oh, she doesn't just have my genes, she has his genes too. And when I asked her cousin, if they had any history in their family, she was like, well,
There you go.
there it was. There it was. That's again with her doing so well in college now. Like I don't have to help her with homework. It used to take 5 hours every day when she was growing up. Till she was we were up till midnight every day during the week. Just I mean, it was not fun. It was not fun. And so my goal is to help the parents, as early as possible to avoid 13 years of frustration for themselves and for their children, or for adults who are undiagnosed or misdiagnosed. Because when you change one person's life in the family, it's a ripple effect. Everyone else's lives are changed. And that's what I'm looking forward to and transform. I live and I love those transformations.
Yeah, and I love that too, because certainly there's enough struggles for parents these days, and kids and our food, and there's so much in coordinating that's not happening there with healthy food for diets and stuff. eh, yeah, something that you do like this can actually help and really get them moving forward. And it's I love it that it's a transferable skill. You don't just
Yeah,
have it when you're a kid, you can take that with you.
absolutely. Yes, yes. And then, just and one of the things I encourage them to do is just to get outside and get some vitamin D. A lot of our children don't play anymore. I mean, I was so just surprised and actually, upset that recess was taken away from children. It's like, adults need recess. What do you think, a child doesn't need recess? Like I had recess through 8th grade, and in Georgia, it seems to be taken away after 5th grade. Once they reach middle school, they don't go outside. Going outside is a treat. You have to earn to go outside. I'm like, wow. We were outside all the time. We were under trees. Teachers were reading books to us. We had science projects outside. I'm like, it's fresh air is so important, and the vitamin D from the sun is so important, especially for mental health. And we just don't allow our children to get it, or we don't encourage them. Though I remember my youngest daughter played softball, and she was on quite a few travel teams, and she was on this one travel team, and one of her teammates was a twin. And so the two of them used to play softball together, but then one twin decided to invest in her time in cheerleading, so she did that. And so we went to a tournament, and there was this young man with them, and uh, I'm like, oh, who's that? And I go, that's my son. And I'm like, she said, oh, that's my inside child. That's what she said. And I was like, your inside child. Like, I thought you just had the girl. I was like, I've never heard his name or anything. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And he was a bit pale. I'm like, he may need a little son. So I'm glad he's out here. I was like, wow, my inside child. I didn't even think about that. So I was like, yes, he was a musician, so he was inside practicing all the time. I'm like, he could practice outside. I'm sure the neighbors would have enjoyed that.
That's true. I know the kids around here don't get outside. I even worked at a school last year for a little bit, and they got outside and it was like, don't run, don't do this. That's what they're outside for. Let them run around, let them climb the hill, let them fall down, let them skin their knees.
Yes. Yeah, get the energy out. And then when they come back, guess what? They're better able to focus because they don't have the wigglies anymore. It's so simple. The things that worked with us still work, and they're still relevant.
Absolutely. Women now, get your butt out the door first thing
Yeah.
in the morning and some other time during the day.
When I give that homework assignment to my patients and my adult patients, I said, and especially the moms, without your children, walk without your children. It's like glory be. I want you to. I want you to feel the wind on your face, the sun on your face. I want you to, see a squirrel walk by and count how many flowers, red flowers or blue or pink or whatever. Just make the game and just keep your cell phone in your pocket. You don't need to look at it or just enjoy, just disconnect. Just disconnect.
That's true. It means a lot because I see students. We're down from a college, so we have students in the neighborhood, and they're always on the phone, walking to school, talking to somebody with their headphones in, and I say, "Hello, Merry Christmas," or "Hello, how are you doing?" And they don't even know which way to look.
Don't know which way. Don't even see you. And that's one of the pet peeves. And my daughters would have to walk home some days. I said, if you're gonna have an earbud in it, it better only be one. I said, because I need you to hear everything else that's going on. I said, and then even then, still be aware. And headphones. I honestly, I guess I was so naive to just think people wanted to listen to music and not to think that they're trying to block everybody else out. Like, don't talk to me. Like it's like I'm here. Don't talk to me. And I have some people who tell me, yeah, I'm wearing them. Nothing's coming out there, but they just know not to talk to me. I'm just like, I didn't think of that as a barrier to like, don't interact with me. Just, let me be in my space. And I'm like, interesting. Interesting.
Well, I was told the other day too, those little headphones that we use that are just sitting in our ears are also not very good for the brain because they're in
They're
there
not the
forever and
radiation.
all day.
Yes, exactly. Even the phones, it's best to put people on speaker, not even have it up to your ear and to your brains. Um, I get a little frustrated. People say, "I'm on speaker." I'm like, "Yes, you want me to get cancer?" Like, yes, you're on speaker. Like just watch your words. I don't know what else to say. Like, yes, no, it's not the best. So yes, definitely try to avoid them at all costs if you can.
Nice. Because, yeah, we seem to get all this new tech and everything's great and we're advancing. And then we go, well, wait a minute, it's frying our brains.
Yes. And the thing that gets me is that those manufacturers knew that before they put it out on the market, but now 10, 15 years later, oh yeah, remember? Yes, oh yeah, we found. No, you knew that. You knew that. But
Yeah,
don't
we
do that
thought
again.
something might happen, but
Like cigarettes. They knew. They knew. And then they were forced to put on don't get me started. I could be a conspiracy theorist, so I just gonna let that go.
thank you so much for joining us today. Is there anything else you would like to leave our listeners with today?
Would love if you would check my book out. It's called Transform Your Brain with Neurofeedback. It is on Amazon. It's also on my website. I'm sure it's braincoreofduluth.com. And so I'm sure we'll share that later. And I'm just thankful to be here. And thank you so much for inviting me and for welcoming to your space.
Oh, well, thank you so much for joining us today. And yes, all of Dr. Candace Holmes' info, how to get her book, her website, and that will be definitely in the show notes. So you can check her out wherever you are in the world, and she can help you too. And I want to thank you for listening. Thank you for the Soul Expression Sessions, and that you may find pure love and joy inside your precious heart. Thank you and have a great month. Bye for now.